Welcome everybody to meeting number 9 of tonight's Administration Fire Finance Committee meeting. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 to protect all individuals, council chambers will not be open to the public to attend standing committees and council meetings until further notice. The public may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda to jshimi@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted to be considered as public information and will be read into the public record. Also note, Councillor Yonker will not be in attendance this evening due to a work commitment, and this meeting will be live streamed and recorded and available on the township website. Heading on to number 2, our land acknowledgement statement. On behalf of the members of council and staff, we wish to acknowledge this land on which the township of West Lincoln operates. The land on which the gather in the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe people and still home to many Indigenous people today. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work here today and follow the Haudenosaunee system of blending laws and values and the Anishinaabe beliefs to strive to live in harmony and balance throughout the municipality. We acknowledge that we are all treaty people and accept our responsibility to honor our relations. Heading on to number 3, any members of council, any change in norms and items on the agenda? Seeing none. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest on this agenda? There are no appointments. Heading on to anybody requests. Is there anybody in the gallery, Roberta, that would like to request any items on the agenda?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that. We'll head on to consent agenda items. The recommendation, Administration and Finance Committee hereby approves the following consent agenda items. Items 1, 2, 3, and 4 are here received for information with the exceptions, and there is none. 1, Joint Accessibility Committee. 2, Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. Minutes, Information Report T28-2021, Financial Update as of October 31, 2021, and Information Report WFD 16-2021, Monthly Update October 2021. Does anybody want to pull any of those items? And seeing nobody, so I need a mover for that. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Ganan, all those in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to communications, I got an item A69-21. Anne-Marie Norio, the Regional Clerk for the Niagara Region Report, CAO 15-2021, an updated land acknowledgement statement. The recommendation that the Region of Niagara Report CAO 15-21 updated land acknowledgement statement dated August 26, 2021 be received and supported, and that Township Council authorize staff to adopt the practice of using Niagara Region's updated land acknowledgement statement to be read as a standard greeting at the beginning of all council and standing committee meetings of council, as delivered by the mayor and or committee chair, commencing with the updated statement being read at the November 22nd, 2021 council meeting, and that the addition of the land acknowledgement statement to be read at council and the standing committee meetings be addressed when the clerk undertakes the review for a new procedural bylaw, and that the following new land acknowledgement statement be read as follows. The Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in rich history for the First Nations, such as the, and bear with me here, Hadiwendarong, so Hadiwendarong, and Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Metis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara Regional today. The Township of West Lincoln, as a part of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, stands with Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardships of the lands on which we live. So I need a mover for that. Councillor Riley, seconded by Councillor Bradrick. Any comments or questions for member of committee? I have Councillor Rayner first and then Councillor Bradrick. So go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
Yes, through the mayor, can you give us an update of the region's involvement in this now, please?
I'm afraid I cannot. This is something that has come through the
I guess maybe the back channels. I don't know. Like it's more of a staff thing. So this is not something that we voted on at regional council. So I'm sorry, Councillor.
Okay, I'm not sure who to ask the next question to. Maybe if it's not the mayor, maybe it's the CAO. Does this replace the one that we have right now?
I can take that question. So through Chair Trombetta to you, Councillor Rayner. Yes, I think that's what this is proposing here. So, and to help with your earlier question, the region has been working on this for quite a while, and it's, again, directed mainly through the Diversity and Inclusion Committee that has been struck. But they've done a considerable amount of stakeholder consultation with the First Nations to make sure that the statement is current and reflects the First Nation groups that need to be addressed at this point in time. So they did do a staff report in August, and then they're reading this statement or a version thereof. So their version would say, being part of Niagara region is situated on treaty land, etc. And the proposal here is that if this goes through, this would replace the version that we've been using. And I'm going to just advise committee as well that the version that we've been using is one that we had put together and did run by some of the staff who were also working on this at the time. And they at the time they thought it was quite appropriate, but it's a topic that certainly evolves and changes. And so I would like it if we actually were consistent with the regional statement.
Thank you. Next question, through you, Mr. Chair, to the CAO. Are all the other municipalities, will we doing exactly the same thing?
Through you, Chair Trombetta to Councillor Rayner, I'm not too sure. They've all been asked to do the same. I think most of them have been some have been doing an acknowledgement, land acknowledgement for a while, but I'm not too sure if they're going to be changing it.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, this is a very political situation. That's why the timing of this, everybody seems to be getting on board with this. I took the original to the police who deal with this situation on a regular basis, and they were uncomfortable with the one that we had. But this one to me reads a lot nicer, has less questions that could be asked, or however you wish to interpret the wording. This one seems to be, and this was done, I guess, with consultation from the Indigenous groups of Niagara. Is that not correct, Madam CEO?
Yeah, yes, that is correct.
Yeah, and like I said, this one flows better. This one makes a lot more sense. And as I was told to me, it's less difficult to misinterpret, shall we say? But other than that, I believe this is a much improved version. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Chair. I have just a couple of comments and perhaps directed towards, through you, to the CAO. I think this is great research, and as the CAO commented, it's an evolving sensitive topic that we want to have the Indigenous community involved in, so that we are reflective of what they feel is the appropriate language to be using. So just a couple of things through you, Chair, to the CAO, one of which is I wondered if we could have perhaps a link within our website that looked at some of the background on this, so that the public could take some of this information in the future to get a little bit of a background on how it was developed and some of that analysis that took place from the region, so that we can have that there historically for the future. Also, so I'll just continue on. You can answer or comment on both of these at the same time. Just wondered about the possibility of the future of having community members perhaps videotape children of our community from our local schools to read this virtually, the land acknowledgement statement. As we know, the point of this land acknowledgement is to have an education piece to it, so that we're providing not only education to ourselves but to our community. And I can't think of a better way than to have that done through our local schools. So through you, Chair, to the CEO, if she'd like to comment on those two things.
Madam CEO.
Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Broderick. So your first question about the link to the website, I will look to see how we could do that. And the staff report that went to the region will probably have some of that background information. I just want to know about timing and priority for something like this, and so I'd expect to get a committee direction for that if that's the case. And then the idea of recordings, I'm going to investigate, because I do believe that, and I'm going to say I'm going to research this, but the notion is that at the beginning of a meeting, this is a verbal acknowledgement by the committee, or the chair of the committee, or a rotating statement by a member of a group. So I'm not too sure about the protocol for that, but I will investigate that.
Through you, Chair, to the CAO, I appreciate that. I think that, whatever is the appropriate protocol is absolutely what has to happen, but I was curious if there could be an education component for our community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, just to add on to Councillor Broderick's, idea there, I think that's a fantastic idea. One of the things I was going to talk about, or at least bring up, is the idea of maybe having it rotational between each member of committee and council. I certainly love the idea of incorporating the community, and I think that's, I'd love to hear, from our CEO when she gets a chance to research that, what that possibility could be, and maybe we make that even a special occasion. It doesn't necessarily have to be a regular thing, but I think moving forward as we try to establish that unity, I think it'd be very appropriate to do what we also do at council, which is we all rotate the opening petition, and so I think the opening land acknowledgement statement would also be appropriate to have between each member of committee, and that way it also shows that we're all taking our turn and acknowledging the commitment to the treaty as well. So I more or less just wanted to put that out there, and hopefully our CEO could also take that into consideration when we bring this forward. Now, I guess my question to you, Mr. Chair, to the CEO is, should we be, if these are things that we are interested in doing, do you need that direction from us? And do we need to put that as a friendly amendment to what we have before us to consider or potentially pursue? I certainly just don't want it to get, with all the things that you have on your plate, I certainly don't want it to, accidentally just, get not recognized or prioritized in any capacity. I don't want this to kind of slip away either. We have a lot of business to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Something like this very easily could slip. So I really want to get, some input back on this. So I just don't know if that needs to be part of this current motion, or if you don't think it needs to, then that's fine as well.
So through Chair Trombetta to Councillor Riley, I'm reverberating in terms of the recording.
Sorry, say that again?
Sorry, say that again,
I'm getting feedback, sorry. So I'm hearing myself speak.
Oh, there you go.
That's better, okay. So what you're asking for would require work, and I'm going to be quite honest about that. And one of the things that I was thinking about as you were speaking is that we're going to be updating the procedural bylaw. And maybe at that time we could investigate, as we bring that back, the rotation of the reading of the document. In terms of the link to the website, it is work. So yeah, I would really like to have some direction, because it will displace other things that we're focusing on right now.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I would make the direction as we add the friendly amendment to have that reviewed at the time of the renewal of the procedural bylaw then.
Okay, Councillor Riley, so you want a motion to?
I want to make a friendly amendment is what I'm understanding, that is considered at the time when the procedural bylaw is under for review, and I'm assuming council is going to have to approve that procedural bylaw, so that's probably coming later next year, my guess. So maybe at that time this information could come back.
Okay, I'll refer to the clerk, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the resolution was moved by Councillor Riley and seconded by Councillor Braderick. I would suggest that if it's, the seconder would like to, actually, I think better, it would be best to have just a separate resolution to give direction to staff to place information on the website, educational information on the website, which could provide some information with respect to the land acknowledgement statement and so on and so forth.
Okay, so did you get that, Councillor?
Yeah, and so just to be clear, it's not just the website component that I think that's fantastic add-on if we can do that. My motion or amendment is that I like to have the rotational aspect under consideration at the time of the renewing or reviewing of the new procedural bylaw. So I just want to make sure that's very clear. It's not just the Councillor Braderick's, suggestion of going on the website and having that information available. It's specifically about the rotational aspect of each member of committee and council, or however it comes back to have their turn at reading that statement.
So there's two parts to your motion that you're looking for
Yeah,
here?
my first motion is technically, I guess, piggybacking on Councillor Braderick's in this first part, sorry, and the second part would be the rotational, committee member, council member rotational.
Okay, so a motion, so Madam Clerk, so obviously Councillor Riley is looking for a motion to put it on the website and also have it, I guess, in rotation is what you're looking for? Read, okay, so he needs a seconder to put that motion, am I correct?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor?
point of order, you do need to deal with one at a time, so you do have a properly moved and seconded motion on the floor before introducing another one. You got to deal with the first one, which I think you can do, and then just entertain a second one, or on advice of the clerk. But at this point, you're bringing in another motion inside the discussion of the first motion.
Okay, I wasn't sure if she wanted it added to the first one. That's fine, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, how would you like this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would suggest that it be separate resolutions just because they are separate identities. So if we have an issue with the first part of the resolution, then these additional ones could be lost because of that reason. So I'd just rather them be put forward as a separate resolution and voted on separately.
So we'll vote on this one first, and then I'll bring my motion immediately following.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we had the mover, which is Councillor Riley, seconded by Councillor Braderick.
Can we have a recorded vote, Mr. Chair?
Did you get that, Madam Clerk? There was a recorded vote requested by Councillor Riley.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Just I'm just loading it in now. Thank you. Councillor Riley?
Support?
Councillor Braderick?
Support.
Thank you. Councillor Ganan?
Support.
Councillor Rayner?
I have clarification. Is this for the original one that's now, that we're looking at? Yeah, I support that. That's no problem. Thank you.
Mayor Balsma?
Yeah, support.
Thank you. Councillor Trombetta or Chair Trombetta?
Support.
Thank you. It's unanimous, 6-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
So at this time, Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring forward the amendment, or I guess the separate motion where what we just discussed there.
Okay.
So if the Madam Clerk would like to read specifically, so Councillor Rayner and the Mayor and everyone else understands what we're voting on, that would be great, and then we can ask for a seconder.
You'll
Madam
just have
Clerk?
to bear with me for a minute, 'cause
No,
I'm still
Take your time,
putting
Madam.
that together.
Yeah, take your time, Madam Clerk.
I have something now, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
That staff be directed to include as part of the review of the new procedural bylaw to rotate the readings of the land acknowledgement statement among all members of committee/council, and that the township's website be updated to include information with respect to the history of the land acknowledgement statement.
Okay. Does that satisfy you, Councillor Riley?
Yeah, that is beautiful. Thank
So
you.
seeing that motion, I need a seconder for that motion. Yeah, Councillor Bradrick. Any comments or questions? Councillor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this supposed to be read like the opening petition then? In which case, the opening petition is rotated every council meeting. Is this supposed to be done in the same fashion, like it follows right below the opening petition or something if it's on council, for example, or what's the process?
So since it's Councillor Riley's motion, Councillor Rayner, I'll refer it to him.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Rayner. Yes, that's exactly, your understanding is exactly that. The idea is to have everybody take part in that and to share in their acknowledgement of it as well, just like we do with the opening petition.
Go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
So will there be a separate title, something like opening petition or something that is read basically at the start of the meeting, each meeting?
It'd probably be land acknowledgement statement, but yes, it would be phrased just like that.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. That'll be, once staff has a review of it, staff will get back to us on that, Councillor Rayner. So referring it to staff at the moment.
To review that?
In the procedural bylaw, like was stated by the Madam CAO.
This will not be implemented right away. This is something that's going to come back later next year when we have to review the whole procedural bylaw.
Madam CAO?
Just to be clear, though, that until then, this will be on the committee and council agendas, just as it is right now, and read by the chair?
Yes, that's...
Yeah. Councillor Rayner, floor is still yours, yeah?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, I understand the significance of this, and I understand it's a very hot political item right now, and people are trying to cool the waters everywhere. There was discussion earlier from the first one that it was thought maybe it should be done at council, which is where the opening petition is. Would it not follow that once a month, read directly below whoever has the opening petition, which rotates all the time, would also do that at that time?
Councillor, it says standing committees and at council.
That's from the region, right?
Correct, the one we just passed.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm sorry. It does say standing committees on there. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comments or questions on this motion by Councillor Riley? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to staff reports. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for that, doing that for us. Appreciate that. Moving on to staff reports. Clerk Joanne Shimmy, Information Report C05-2021, Alternate Voting Methods, Legislative Changes and Key Dates for the 2022 Municipal and School Board Election. The recommendation that report C05-2021 dated November 15th, 2021 regarding alternate voting methods, legislative changes and key dates for the 2022 Municipal and School Board Election be received for information. I need a mover for that. Councillor Ganan, seconder. I got Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to item A71-21, Clerk Joanne Shimmy. Recommendation report C08-2021, Agreement Renewal with the Niagara Society of Prevention of Cruelty of Animals and Humane Society of the Provision of Canine Control and Human Services. The recommendation that report RFD C08-2021, Agreement Renewal with the Niagara Society of Prevention and Cruelty of Animals and Humane Society for the Provision of Canine Control and Humane Services dated November 15th, 2021 be received. And that the Township of West Lincoln, the municipality, renew an agreement with the Niagara Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and Humane Society, the Society, for a further 4-year term commencing January 1st, 2021 and expiring December 31st, 2025 for the costs as outlined in this report, and that a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign an amendment agreement Schedule B to this report with the Niagara Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and Humane Society to be presented at the November 22nd, 2021 council meeting. Need a mover for that? Mr. Mayor, seconded by Councillor Bradrick. Any comments or questions on this? Seeing no hands, all those in favor? And that's supported. Moving on to A7221, Clerk Joanne Shimi, recommendation report at C07-2020, electronic participation of hybrid meeting procedural bylaw amendment. The recommendation that the report C07-2021 dated November 15th regarding electronic participation of the hybrid meeting procedural bylaw amendment be received, and that the proposal amendment to the Township of West Lincoln's procedural bylaw 2013-58 as amended as outlined in Appendix A attached to this report be approved, and that electronic participation in hybrid meetings be approved as permanent alternative meeting method for council and standing committees, and that all local boards and advisory committees, including the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of West Lincoln, continue with electronic participation for the meetings for the foreseeable future, and that staff report back to council with a review of the electronic participation in hybrid meeting assessment as a part of the procedural bylaw review. Need a mover for that. Councillor Riley, seconded. Councillor Gannan, comments or questions? Okay, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess through you to our CAO, I'm just wanting to verify something here. Will this also include the live streaming? I did not see that in there, so I don't think it will, but I'm just kind of curious if I'm just missing something.
Madam CAO.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Riley. I'm going to actually ask for help from our clerk on this one. The live streaming, this report particularly deals with is the procedural bylaw and the new powers that were given to municipalities to be able to do different forms of meetings. The live streaming, I think, is sort of separate and above. But to the clerk, Joe, do you know the answer to that?
Thank you, Madam CAO. Yes, it would include live streaming of meetings, the hybrid, meaning in person and electronically, and would it mean that we could, it would be live streamed, continue to be live streamed.
Okay, excellent. I just wanted to make sure my understanding of that was correct. So, great. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments or questions? I just have one. I think this is a good thing that's been actually introduced to us. I know Councillor Riley introduced this back, I'd probably say about a year, not a little bit ago. And, I'd like to commend the council for supporting this. This is the way of the future, I guess, the new way that's coming down. And I think it's good to kind of allows us to attend meetings wherever we are in the world, I guess. And so I think this is a new way of the future. And I'd like to thank Roberta, because she had to kind of deal with a lot of this stuff. So it's a good thing, and I guess it's the future to come. So I just wanted to say those comments. Madam CAO?
Yeah, thank you. If you allow me, I do want to talk about this because in my many years in municipal business, this is an absolutely a big game changer, and the province had never ever considered making this an opportunity for municipalities. So I think this is one of the good outcomes that we've experienced through the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. A lot easier for scheduling for the CAO and clerks when we have all those AMO conferences and all that kind of stuff where we have to schedule the meeting 3-4 times. So this will actually help out a lot better in the future for many years to come. So it's good. Those are all the comments I had. So I'll call the vote for this. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to other business. Item A73-21, Madam CAO. Employee professional accomplishments. Jessica Dyson, Deputy Clerk, a certificate of attendance of Indigenous culture and competency. Madam CAO, would you like to comment a little bit on that?
I would. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased that Jessica Dyson, our Deputy Clerk, took the initiative to get some of the training for the Indigenous cultural competency. And so not only did she get her certificate, she also brought back a number of resources that she has provided to me to be able to share with the CAO newsletter every month so that we can continue to make sure that we are doing education and training with respect to learning more about our First Nations and First Nations culture.
Great.
So really pleased for Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam CAO. Moving on, item A74-21, members of committee, verbal updates of members of boards and committees if required. Any members? Any members of council? Moving on to A75-21, any members of council? Any other business of informative nature? Councillor Gannett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a little bit of business just to share that with the community and as well as Western Council. Obviously, living in a small rural community, you start, if you're following anything in the newspaper or you're following Facebook, you know that there are dinners galore about to happen or have happened. So I'd like to just give a little credit to last Friday to the Greek dinner that the people at the Greek Hall put together. This week we have St. Luke's traditional turkey dinner, which they also have pivoted. Last year they had to cancel it outright. This year they are doing a drive-through. So I was asked to mention that. And I was also asked to mention the Silverdale turkey dinner that they do. It's technically a free dinner, and you make your check or your donation payable to West Lincoln Community Care. So again, it will be a drive-through event, and it's sort of a pay what you wish in terms of your donation to help community care at Christmas time. So that is coming up on December the 10th. And as well, the Christmas market, speaking of more food, is this Saturday, November the 20th at our community center. So food galore in West Lincoln. Thank you.
Just to double check, Councilor Gannett, this Christmas market.
27th. The other stuff is on the 20th. It's also going on in town. My mistake, sorry.
That's good. Councilor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was just going to mention as well, I guess I could have mentioned it in the item before, but I don't think it matters. So we have the West Lincoln Santa Claus Parade, and this year, for those who aren't aware of it, it's a reverse parade, so it's a drive-through option, and you get tickets online. So that's going to be happening on December 11th, I believe. Hopefully I got that date right. And yeah, so I think it's going to be, considering, I think it's important to note as well that the committee had to make the difficult decision again, whether or not to bring the traditional parade back, and based on the information they were given by the province, they couldn't, and then we found out shortly after we could have, but at that point 5 weeks had already gone by, and a very small committee of 10, 11 people, it just wasn't possible to bring back the traditional parade. So our hope is to bring that back next year, but in the meantime, hope everybody's able to get their tickets online. They're free. It's just a matter of picking your time slot so we can help manage the traffic going in and out of the agricultural center, which is where the reverse parade is going to be happening. And yeah, and so I think it's going to be a really great night as well. I believe it starts at 5 o'clock, goes to about, I believe, 8.
Excellent.
And the other thing I was going to mention, just on the 11th there, Remembrance Day, is able to, as acting mayor, is able to participate in the Remembrance Day ceremony, and may be able to lay the wreath there. So, we're representing the municipality and the township, and it was, a real honor and blessing to be able to take part in that and be a part of that and represent the municipality as well as pay our respects. And yeah, so I just thought I'd make those comments known for the record that I was able to take part and be a part of that as well. So anyways, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Riley. Any other comments or questions from anybody? Okay, seeing none. New business. See anybody with new business? There are no confidential matters for this, so I will adjourn this meeting at 7:05. Thank you, everybody, and we'll head into Public Works right after. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the second portion of tonight's meeting. Again, Councillor Yonker is away on business, and I've been honored to take over as chair this meeting for him at this moment. So I will be doing the Public Works portion of this meeting this evening. Meeting number 8. Moving on. Number one, I'm your chair, Jason Trombetta. Moving on to procedural bylaw matter. Prior to commencing the Public Works Arena Committee meeting, the clerk advised the chair of Public Works Arena Committee meeting being that Councillor Harold Yonker is unable to attend this evening meeting due to a work commitment, and additionally, Councillor Rayner, who is vice chair, has advised he will be unable to chair the meeting. Therefore, presiding chair will be appointed, and that is me for this evening. Item PW 37-21, appointment of presiding chair. The recommendation that accordance with section 4.3 of the Township's procedural bylaw, myself, Councillor Trombetta, will be appointed as a presiding chair for the Public Works, Recreation, and Arena Committee meeting being held on Monday, November 15th, 2021, due to the absence of Chair Councillor Yonker and Vice Chair Councillor Rayner being unable to chair the meeting. So I need a mover for that. Councillor Ganan, seconded by Councillor Rayner, Mayor Balsma, sorry. Any comments or questions for this? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. So again, due to the efforts contained the spread of COVID-19 to protect all individuals, council chambers will not be open to the public to attend standing committees and council meetings until further notice. The public may submit comments to the matters on the agenda to Joe and Shimmy, westlincoln.ca, before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be considered as public information and will be read into the public record. Again, note once again that Councillor Yonker was absent tonight this evening because due to a work commitment, and the meeting will be live streamed and recorded and available on the township websites. We have a land acknowledgement statement. On behalf of the members of council and staff, we wish to acknowledge this land in which the township of West Lincoln operates, the land on which we gather in the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe people, and is still home to many indigenous people today. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work here today and follow the Haudenosaunee system of blending laws and values of the Anishinaabe beliefs to strive and live in harmony and balance throughout the municipality. We acknowledge that we are all treaty people and accept our responsibility to honor our relations. Members of the committee, is there any change in orders of item on the agenda? Seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none. Is there any appointments? Nope, there are none. So moving on, anybody here this evening, Ms. Keith, that wants to address any items on the agenda?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Moving on to consent agenda items, PW 38-21, the Public Works Recreation Committee meeting hereby approves the following consent agenda. 1 and 2 are hereby received for information. West Lincoln Santa Claus Parade Committee minutes, October 14th, 2021, and West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes, October 15th, 2021. Does anybody want to pull in any of these? So, seeing none, I need a mover for that. Councillor Ganan, seconded by Councillor Broderick. All those in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to communications, Deanna McIntosh, a resignation from West Lincoln Christmas Parade Committee. The recommendation, an email received on November 8th, 2021 from Deanna McIntosh advising of her resignation from West Lincoln Christmas Parade Committee be received with regrets, and that a bylaw 2021-75 be repealed, and that the new bylaw be presented at the November 22nd, 2021 council meeting to remove Deanna McIntosh from Schedule G West Lincoln Christmas Parade Committee of Bylaw 2018-114. I need a mover for that. Councillor Riley, seconder. Councillor Broderick, any comments or questions on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's supported. Moving on to staff reports, Manager of Operations Steve McGean and Director of Public Works Mike DePaula. Recommendation report PW 20-2021 West Lincoln Hamilton Joint Jurisdiction Highway Route Maintenance and Repair Agreement. The recommendation that report PW 2021 West Lincoln Hamilton Joint Jurisdiction Highway Routine Maintenance and Repair Agreement dated November 15, 2021 be received, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement between the Corporation Township of West Lincoln and the Corporation of the City of Hamilton for the Joint Jurisdiction Routine Maintenance and Repair Agreement. I need a mover for that. Mr. Mayor, seconded, Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions on this item? Is that your hand up there, Councilor Rayner? Yeah, Councilor Rayner.
Thank you. Through to Mr. DePaula. It's a little bit off from this, but can you give an update since there is the joint use of Westbrook Road between the City of Hamilton and the Township of West Lincoln? Where does it sit with regards to the truck route for any of those who may be wondering down in that area what the process is so far with regards to some kind of an arrangement made between the Township of West Lincoln and the City of Hamilton with regards to where the trucks are going to go?
Through the chair to Councilor Rayner, as committee is aware, Hamilton is revising their truck route master plan, and at one point in the process, they identified Westbrook as a potential truck route. Based on comments and feedback from all kinds of different stakeholders, as well as the residents in the area, I did reach out to Hamilton staff, and they will. The study's not finalized yet, but they have advised me that they plan to remove Westbrook as part of that truck route. So Westbrook Road would not be identified as a truck route as part of this, as part of Hamilton's truck route master plan update.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'm glad I asked that question. I'm sure there's a lot of people wondering, is there any communications through you to the CAO that can go out from the Township of West Lincoln to the people that would be affected, could have it gone the wrong way, and send them a letter of good news just before Christmas would be nice?
I'll talk to Hamilton. Through the chair to Councilor Rayner, I think I'll talk to Hamilton staff regarding that. It's really their study, and any communication on a study like that should be coming from them. So I'll take that comment and reach out to Hamilton.
I would appreciate it. I'm sure everybody living along that road would also appreciate getting a letter from somebody. But since the decision's been made, as you said, it would be nice if we could get it out to them as soon as possible, rather than have this drag on and have their nerves at witch's end. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead, Madam CEO. Yep.
So as we understand, the process is underway. Perhaps to the director, do we have to wait for that to unfold completely before that communication goes out?
There is a process as part of the master plan when the certain checkpoints are with the general public. So that next time, if Hamilton needs to follow a process, so I'll reach out to them, see if any communication has been sent out to the residents regarding that, and if not, I'll ask when they plan to do that and report back to the committee. But the CAO there is a process they should be following.
Councilor Rayner.
Yes. Sorry, Director. Is it possible you could repeat? I'm losing. It's fading in and out. I'm getting weird sounds on my screen. The voices are disappearing, then they're coming back. I'm getting the odd word. Apparently, it's really windy out here right now, and I even got flashes on my screen saying everything's unstable. Could you just repeat the last little bit, because I didn't hear any of it? Sorry.
Sure. I was just talking about how the master plan study that Hamilton doing is following like a particular process, and that process does lay out points of contact with different stakeholders and when they should be made. So I will reach out to Hamilton to see if they've shared that news with the residents, and if not, I'll try to find out when the next point of contact with the affected stakeholders will be and share that with committee. But there is a process that they should follow. I got the first
half of your message, but not the second half, but I think I know what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rayner. Anybody else? Any comments or questions on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's supported. Moving on, Manager of Operations, Steve McGean, Director of Public Works, Mike DePaula. Recommendation report PW 21-2021 Rail Safety Improvement Program. Funding Agreement Authorization. That report, PW 2021 Rail Safety Improvement Program Funding Agreement Authorization dated November 15th, 2021 be received, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the contribution agreement between the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln and the federal government RSIP team. You need a mover for that? Councilor Ganand, seconded by Councilor Bradrick. Any comments or questions on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's supported. Moving on to PW 42-21, Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DiPaolo, recommendation report PW 22-2021, Regional Road 20 roundabouts and parkette maintenance agreements. Recommendation report, PW 22-2021, the Regional Road 20 roundabouts and parkette maintenance agreements dated November 15th, 2021 be received, and that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter in agreements between the corporation of the Township of West Lincoln and the Regional Municipality of Niagara for the road maintenance agreements related to the two roundabouts on Regional Road 20 and parkettes at the intersection of Regional Road 20 and Regional Road 14. Need a mover for that? Mr. Mayor, seconded by Councilor Riley. Comments or questions? Councilor Bradrick. Then I got Councilor Rayner.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Director DiPaolo, I'm not sure if you have had the opportunity to put together any estimate on the financial impact of taking over these agreements, this maintenance of the roundabout and the parkette. But if you have, can you please comment on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Frederick, we haven't put together any financial result of what this would cost us. At the end of the day, with consultation with the region and the region's urban design, urban designer, they developed a landscaping plan that is low maintenance, and there's irrigation system in the roundabout to help with our maintenance activities. Speaking with staff, we have enough resources to basically provide periodic maintenance of the landscaping bed. So it's covered, what we have currently allocated in our operating budget. There's more than enough financial resources to cover the maintenance of these two roundabouts. As I said, they're very low maintenance plantings. There's not much financial resources to maintain them.
Thank you. That clarifies it. Thank you.
Councilor Rayner.
Thank you. These roundabouts, as everybody knows, is a burn my bonnet of wasting nearly $7 million. And we need money in the hospital, and we would have to have a levy to the people of this township. And we certainly could have used that money to better purpose doing something for the hospital and putting something in that's really unnecessary. But what this amounts to is, this is a regional project, paid by the tax dollars from the people in this township. And now they want to download it on us when it's their project, it's on their property, and now we're supposed to look after it. And I understand what the director said, it's low maintenance, but we've already found out that it's also a place to exercise your ATVs or four-wheel trucks in the middle of the night and everything else. And it's going to continue probably to be a nightmare in that regard, no matter how well you look after it. There's always people who think it's a fun place to have a joyride. Since the region put the joyride facilities in for them, I still feel that it's the regional's responsibility to look after it. And downloading it is really just dumping it on us. I don't think it's fair. It's not our property. I mean, let's go from there. It's not even our property. It's on a regional road. And I think it's their responsibility, since they went and did it, that they should darn well look after it. And lots of times, it's like buying a puppy. Buying the puppy is not the most expensive item when you purchase a dog. It's the years of veterinary and feed and everything else far outweighs the cost. Even though it may not seem like much, but if you got that thing being ripped up 3 or 4 times a year, and all the costs of the nursery stock replaced all the time, and the frustration and the aggravation, it's going to add up over 15 or 20 years, and it's not going to be a pretty number. And it's sad that it goes that way, but by the same token, then, knowing that we've got a bad experience with it, why do we want to take control of something like this when we know it's going to happen to us and we're going to have to pay for it? It seems like we're being set up, and I don't feel comfortable with it.
Thank you, Councilor Rayner. I saw the mayor's hand. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Just further to Councilor Rayner's comment, if the roundabout is damaged in any way, is that our responsibility, or is that the responsibility of the region if it's damaged? to repair that damage, which is part of their insurance.
Is that to the director, to Paula?
Yeah, to the director, thank you.
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor Bilsma. Unfortunately, it would be our responsibility. I did have those discussions with regional staff, and yeah, they feel that it's our responsibility. Cameras are installed, so hopefully, if there is any damage, we could recoup our damages through insurance claims on the people that have caused the damage.
Okay, well, that's also good to know out into the public. So thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I got Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back through you to the director. So I just want to understand, so damage to the trees and the grass and all that stuff would be charged to the municipality. What about damage to the roundabout itself? Like, I'm talking about structurally, like, should the red apron be torn up somehow through a plow? Is all of that cost expected to be paid for by the township? Because my understanding was just the maintenance aspect and all the upkeep of what happens inside of the roundabout, but I want to understand further if it's, if the roundabout gets, destroyed in some capacity, curbs get, taken out somehow through a snowplow, are we going to be expected to drop thousands of dollars repairing that?
Do you, Director?
Yeah, through the chair to Councilor Riley. Any structural damage to the roundabout will fall on the regional jurisdiction. It's basically just the landscaping features, the plantings, the irrigation system that goes with that, and that would be our responsibility if there's any damage to that.
Okay, thank you for that clarity, because at first it kind of sounded like it was everything included, and I didn't think that was the case. So, thank you very much.
Just the landscaping features in the middle of the roundabout.
Okay, no, and it's certainly not cheap. I think from the last bit of damage we had, at least the media reported it. I don't know where they got their number from, but it was like $7,000 or $8,000 worth of damage. Whether that number's accurate or not, who knew? I don't think we ever got those totals because that wasn't under our care at that time. But yeah, it's still good to have that clarity. So thank you.
Thank you. Just to add into that, Mr. Director, the irrigation system, is that on our main or is that on a regional main that goes there? Is that our responsibility?
It's off of a local main, and the irrigation system is our responsibility.
If it's off the local main, that's what I was asking. Yep. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Rayner?
Yes, thank you. Back to the Director of Public Works. You said there's cameras mounted there. Have they been mounted from the initial and the incidents that we have thus far? Have they been on camera? And if so, what has been the result of that?
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, the incidents that occurred previously happened during the construction project. So regional staff and the region took the lead on reviewing the video and correcting the damages since it was still under their, the construction maintenance period. So moving forward, it would be our responsibility.
And you feel comfortable, through you, Mr. Chair, you feel comfortable that the cameras there will result in a conviction the next time it's done?
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, I did ask the Regional Director of Transportation on the quality of that camera, and she assured me that it's good quality. Good. I haven't had a chance to look at it myself, but I was reassured that it was good quality.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you.
To the Director, what were our responsibilities in the parquet?
To the chair, on the appendix in the report, I highlighted an area in the parquet. There's just in the southwest corner of the intersection, there's just some additional landscaping features there. So same idea, just maintaining the landscape plantings in that area.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Okay, any other comments or questions for this? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that carries. Okay, moving on. Let me get my place back here. There we go. Item PW 43-21, Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DePaula, Recommendation Report, REC 2021, Memorandum of Understanding with the 2021 Canada Host Society, Inc. The Recommendation Report, REC 12-2021, Memorandum of Understanding with the 2021 Canada Host Society, Inc., dated November 15th, 2021, be received, and that the CAO be authorized to execute the memorandum of understanding between the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln and the 2021 Canada Host Society, Inc. I need a mover for that. Anybody? Councillor Ganan, seconded. Councillor Bradrick, any comments or questions on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to other business. Any members of council, any other business of an informative nature? Nobody on the screen here either. A new item of business. Only the items require immediate attention and direction. Must approve a motion to introduce a new item of business. And I see Councillor Riley has his hand up. Go ahead, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'd like to bring a new item forward for consideration. And I guess as far as the topic of it would be rental space and usage at the West Lincoln Community Center.
Okay. Noting that, is there a reason for sensitivity for why this is coming now?
Bring it so quickly now. I would just, next month we're going to have committee of whole, and I have no idea how big that meeting's going to be. All those committee meetings are going to be one night, and this matter really just kind of presented itself to me. So I really wanted to kind of get a chance. We have a pretty quick night here. It's only about 20 after 7, and after this we're pretty much done. So I figured this was going to be a pretty quick meeting. It'd be a good chance to bring this forward and have a general conversation. It's really just for discussion.
Okay, so a new item of business. I need a seconder for that new item of business. Councillor Bradrick.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we probably have to vote first before I can go.
Vote for introduce a new item of business first.
So you just need the seconder, and then we take the vote. I can't talk too much about it until it gets to the table. So this is just to bring the motion forward.
Councillor Riley, a new item of business, seconded to introduce a new item of business. Councillor Bradrick, all those in favor for Councillor Riley to introduce a new item of business? Councillor Rayner, are you withholding there? And that carries.
Yes.
That carries.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Riley.
So I guess I just need maybe just confirm to the clerk, do I still need a seconder?
Madam Clerk?
Before I can speak to
Think
this?
he does?
I assume it's going to happen, but.
I believe Councillor Riley needs to speak to the item first before we can put a motion on the table.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the item I'm bringing forward is more for discussion and learning some clarity of what other types of uses can be at the West Lincoln Community Center for some of the rental space. And just to elaborate a little bit more, as we all know, in our community we have we have a shortage in childcare opportunities, and I mean not even just opportunities, but even just space. And so one particular organization has reached out to me to express to me, some of their struggles that they're having. They're at capacity and they want to be able to expand. And so they had, at least from what they have shared with me, they had reached out to the township and to see what what space they possibly have that they could probably utilize. And so right now we know with our community center, it kind of seems like a perfect hub for that kind of activity. And there's not too much necessarily going on right now, and whether this would happen, if this would even be a possibility. And so I know one of the their thought, and I kind of agree with it, is could they utilize some of that space, and we could certainly use some of that revenue. Obviously they're not looking for free space, they're running a business, and so that revenue and result comes to covering some of the costs of the facility, because right now it's just kind of sitting empty in various spots under its various stages. And so, the discussion I wanted to have is possibly to see if, again, gain some insight from staff on whether or not this is, I guess, suitable. At the same time, if it's even possible, I don't really, to be completely frank, I don't really know what the rules are. Obviously it's a commercial, it'd be almost treated like commercial, but we also have day use rentals or week rentals. This would obviously go beyond that. I'm assuming they're probably going to want to look at least, 6 months to a year, maybe longer. But at the same time, if we have space that's not being utilized, this could be a great opportunity, as well as an opportunity for us to also generate some revenue, not just making it accessible for the community, because there is a lot of families who are struggling to find childcare. Many have to leave, an extra hour or two earlier in the morning to get to another municipality that has the child care capacity. So we might have an opportunity here to help with some of that. Whatever those numbers look like would actually be determined through, I guess, the licensing and what the space permitted. But right now, the whole point of bringing this forward was to get a better understanding of what we can do with our, to understand what the each spot is if it's allocated for a specific type of use, and if possible, could that use be some kind of even short-term or long-term childcare? So that's really what I'm looking to kind of learn tonight, and if anything further, I'd love to have other input from committee members.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Riley. Mr. Mayor? Still on mute, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just hang on. Sorry about that. I just trying to find the button. Several layers deep. Can we just refer this to staff to see what, I hate to get into the weeds here a little bit, and I understand, Councillor Riley's position, and we do get requests. I think all of us get requests from time to time, which are totally important questions to raise. And I'm just, I don't even need answers tonight. I don't know how much, perhaps even Councillor Riley primed staff to announce that he was going to do this, but can we just refer this to staff and have them come back? I'm a little bit, I feel for it, but I don't want to overstep my ground at this time. As much as I think there's merit to the question. So that's my desire, to refer this to staff and have them come back next month.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see Director DePaula had his hand up there. I did see you, Director, so go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you, Chairman. I think before we even have this discussion or refer to staff, I think this committee and council needs to ask themselves the question, what is the community center really for? Is it meant for long-term rentals to possibly a private daycare business? I don't think that was the intent of a community center. And I don't think our taxpayers will be quite happy with building a facility where a private business would reap the benefits from it. That would be my comment. So I'm open to hearing more discussion on that.
Councillor Riley?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Director. I understand the question there, and this is more of almost like a fact-finding mission, like we do even with our planning meetings, and learning what more we could be doing with the facility. This might not have been the original vision, but certainly we don't necessarily need to put. We're not looking to sign like a 10-year lease like a normal commercial business would probably be doing, or a 25-year lease. This is something that can be done annually. Right now, we certainly don't have, I don't think we do, people pounding down the door there trying to rent space to put revenue into the building and into the municipality, and I think this could be a really good opportunity, as well as helping with some of the shortages that the municipality or residents are feeling. And as much as like even the concerns with taxpayers funding a building, I think taxpayers are going to be very supportive, knowing that the building's actually generating some revenue versus sitting relatively empty in some spots of it if we don't have these spots already filled. If these rooms were probably at capacity, or we're having to turn people away to entertain an idea like this, would absolutely be ludicrous. But I think at this point, from my understanding, there's been no information given to us, and that would indicate differently. So I would think that this could be a good opportunity for us to do something now, and we can revisit that in the future. But right now, I'm not opposed to the mayor's suggestion of referring this to staff to get more of an in-depth, thorough look of what that could look like, and how that could be supportive, if it could be supportive. Again, I'm not certainly looking for, hey, we're going to do this tonight and just go without all the information and research. I just think it's an idea that we could explore, and an opportunity that we could really capitalize on, if we can make that manageable. I certainly am at least not of the opinion that we need to say yes or no tonight. I think we need more information. I just think this is a really good opportunity to fill some space that's currently not being utilized, and helping in a situation that is facing many residents in our community, the struggle of just not having space to put their kids, in terms of having childcare accessibility. And a lot of these places are at capacity. There's nowhere for them to go, even trying to find a place in town, unless they have the means to buy a building and renovate it, which is not normally realistic. And to be clear, this is not someone's home daycare. This is a reputable organization within the municipality that actually does a higher volume than home daycare services do. So it's not somebody just coming out of their home looking to go into the building there. This is an actual legitimate business that has the track record to prove it, and I guess the the numbers to support it going forward. It's not an experiment in any capacity. So if that was any concern, I don't think we need to be worried about that.
So
but
are you looking for a motion to go to staff, to refer this
So-
back to staff to report back on space capabilities
So
at the West Lincoln Community Care Center for daycare services?
So I guess what I'm looking for is, originally I was trying to see clarity in terms of whether or not this was a yay or nay from staff, and I'm not necessarily hearing a yay or nay. I wasn't sure if there was a specific rule. Well, I see the CAO's hand up right now, but I more or less is looking to see if we can utilize that space. So again, I want to refer it back to staff to kind of get a better idea of if we can use this for other services. But I guess the clarity we're looking for, is there somewhere that we have it specifically spelled out what types of services can be there and the maximum duration that they can be in operation there? Obviously, we're looking at, most part day events to week events, but I don't know where that information would be, if that information exists. I haven't heard or seen anything from anyone else.
Okay.
So if maybe our CEO could elaborate.
Well, I got 3 staff members with their hands up, so I don't know who to go through first. You guys want to take a straw vote on who to go first, but I'll start from left to right. So we'll go Madam CAO, then Director DePaula, then Madam Clerk, if that's okay in that order. So, Madam CAO.
Well, thank you. Just a couple comments, and just to be clear, so where there has been, you may not see as much use in the center right now, there is a really good reason for that, and that is because of planning and responding and pivoting with respect to COVID. And then the other thing that I'm sure the other staff might even talk about as well is when we built the space, with certain storage requirements for different types of uses. And I don't really know the nature of this daycare, but I do know that they usually have quite a bit of stuff associated with their programs. And that would be something that we would certainly have to look at. But the first step would be for them to chat with the staff to figure out what their needs are and what is available. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, I'll go to Director DePaula.
I would highly encourage that the organization reach out to staff to see what their needs are. And I just kind of wanted to provide an overview. Back in June, sports fields were open and staff were busy trying to arrange uses of outdoor facilities following the provincial direction. And then we had a very successful summer camp in the facility, where we serviced 24 kids a week for a total of 192 kids for the entire summer duration. And then in July, the walking track opened. Staff was very busy organizing ice rentals and have been quite busy with that, as well as harvest roots. And right now, we currently have an older social drop-in program scheduled, and there's a sport ball program, and then the Region's Safe and Strong program. So staff are continuously working on these programs, and we got the drop-in session ready to rock at the gymnasium, and we have been receiving tons of requests for rental space in the gymnasium. Unfortunately, staff just don't have the resources to start booking those rentals right now, but they do plan to in the next month or so. So it's committee's decision. If you want us to revisit everything and refer this back to staff, then I guess the current rentals from the community will have to take a back seat, and we'll have to, delay everything.
Okay, thank you, Director DePaula. I see your hand, Mr. Mayor. I have Madam Clerk, and then I have Councillor Ganana, and then I have you, Mr. Mayor, okay? Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My suggestion is that before, I understand there's lots of discussion going on, but my suggestion is that a formal resolution be put forward with respect to this proposal. I have prepared something on behalf of Councillor Riley. I can read that if you like. If it's suitable, then he can move it, or we can change it. So if I can read that now, Mr. Chair.
Yep, absolutely, Madam Clerk.
That staff be directed to prepare a report and recommendation to be presented at a future Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting regarding the use of the meeting rooms at the West Lincoln Community Center for other uses such as short-term or long-term childcare services.
Okay, Now, if it's the will of council, do you want me to vote on that, or do you want to put your comments in, Mr. Mayor, or Councillor Gannon first before that?
Sorry, Mr.
Sorry, you need a seconder first?
Yeah, I need a mover and a seconder. If it's okay with Councillor Riley, my resolution.
So that's fine with me. The only thing I will mention is it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically related to childcare. That was just the initiator today. I wasn't sure what the overall rules were for the room rental and what the criteria is. So maybe if somehow we can maybe have that in consideration of what would be suitable use, what would not be suitable use, sorry. Obviously, I guess the sky's the limit with what could come in there, so I don't know how you do that. But I don't know if that needs to be so specific to childcare. That certainly is the reason why we're talking about it today. But how to, make it more of a broader conversation so we know what to do in the future, and, when staff, gets an inquiry, they can say, oh, well, actually, we actually have it spelt out. It can be exactly this under this criteria.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, again, through to Councillor Riley, I can just take the last portion out and just say for other suitable uses and leave it very
Perfect.
Okay.
more vague and open-ended.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay. I need a seconder. Actually, do you want to read it first, and then we'll get a seconder for that once again, Madam Clerk, please?
Yes, sir. The staff be directed to prepare a report and recommendation to be presented at a future Public Works, Recreation, and Arena Committee meeting regarding the use of the meeting rooms at the West Lincoln Community Center for other suitable uses.
Okay.
Can I have the report back by February of 2022? Would that be possible to ask?
What was the original?
It was just open-ended. And I think there was a suggestion next month. I don't think next month is realistic to dump on staff, so I don't want there to feel like they need to have this by December. But, if we can do this 3 months from now, have some kind of report, I think that's probably an adequate enough time.
Madam CAO, and then I have Director DePaula again. Is it the emoji hand I thought I saw up there? Yes. So, Madam CAO.
You did, oh, sorry, you did see it, my hand. I think right now, staff just need to give this a little bit of thought, because I'm not even sure that it's worthy, or if we need to do a report. I think we need to sort of go back and think about this, but again, where we serve at the pleasure of the committee. So it's just sort of a very new idea, except for I think that the ideas were explored a while ago when the building was created. So I'm actually just thinking out loud as I speak, so I'm going to stop at this point.
Is 3 months okay for you, Madam Clerk, or Director Paul, or Madam CAO? Is that enough time?
Well, Mr. Chair, before you guys vote on the motion, I just want some clarity. Like, potential renters, they should be contacting staff. Like, we do have a very good example that staff are working with on a potential renter who wants to rent the community rooms for like 2 months to do some training. So staff needs to review that request, see how it blends in with the programming that we're doing. If there's any conflicts with the program that we're doing, I'm just need some clarity on this motion. I don't even know how we would be able to respond to it, because at the end of the day, any rental request will be considered.
So right now, we just have a motion, and we're looking for a second. There will be some more comments. It still needs to be voted on, and I'm still going to be waiting for comments from Councillor Gannon and Mr. Mayor that are waiting to get in to obviously comment on this. So right now, I have a motion, which is going to be, I guess, pushed to about 3 months, and then I'm looking for a seconder, and then I'll open up for questions. I can hear some members of council that are waiting patiently to speak to this item, if that's okay, Mr. Director. So, the motion, again, Madam Clerk, can we do it one more time, and then I can get a seconder for it, and then I'll open it up to questions, please.
That staff be directed to prepare a report and recommendation to be presented no later than at the February Public Works, Recreation, and Arena Committee meeting regarding the use of meeting rooms at the West Lincoln Community Center for other suitable uses. Great,
thank you. I need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Bradrick, comments or questions? So I had Councillor Gannon, and then I had the mayor, if that's okay. Councillor Gannon?
Well, the rest of the discussion that's taken place since I originally wanted to speak has sort of changed some of the comments I wanted to make. But thank you, Mr. Chair. when we were talking about daycare scenarios, my first thought, having taught kindergarten for a lot of years, was the different type of equipment that would be needed that we don't own. And so that was a big thing. And then for that to be set up and taken down and that storage, I know that they tried that same kind of thing at the train station and ended up just giving over that space to the Montessori school there because it was impossible for that staff to be setting up and taking down daily. I do know as well that our timing is a little bit poor. I appreciate the need for daycare. I'm not sure this is the best place because we still don't know what programs are going to come back to the community center. So Healthy, Safe, and Strong is a perfect example. Even while it's been online, it has grown to more days per week and more classes, and people are just anxiously waiting to see if the region's going to make a decision about coming back to in-person classes or whether it's still going to be a virtual online scenario the way it's been. But I do know that while we've been going through COVID, those numbers of people taking part in those have grown a lot. I also know that there's lots of talk in the community about the drop-in center and for seniors, and that is the only area that has access to a kitchen, which a daycare facility would need as well. You know, only one of the 3 rooms that can be divided actually has those kitchen facilities and a way of preparing snacks or food. So it's not as simple an issue as we have open space and nothing's happening and why don't we rent it? That sounds, without any details, like a really easy thing to do. I see it being a very difficult thing for staff to come to terms with how that could work and still allow for the community programming that was promised to our community as we worked on building and putting that facility together. So the emphasis now in the motion has changed away from the daycare situation. It's just looking very open-ended. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure how I feel about that until we know more about what's going to happen with COVID and whether we're going to be able to be operational fully again. The way, the programs and the things going on there had just really started to grow and expand, and the center was quite busy prior to COVID. And right now, we're still feeling that emptiness. And but I don't know if we can jump in and put something else there until we know what the circumstances are going to be in the new year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ganan. I had the mayor, and then I have the Madam CAO after that. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm gonna be a little bit more forceful. First, I was gonna refer this simply because I thought we were in the weeds. I still really think that we're in the weeds. As a council, we're quite clunky. Because we do things through motion and bylaw and those kind of things and staff reports and such. And I really just think that we can, because they are capable, we can trust our staff. And I know I'm sure Council Riley absolutely trusts staff, but I think this is their responsibility to manage the facility. That's what we pay them to do, and they do so in a way that exercises the town's interest. And so the questions that I'm hearing from, or that the responses I'm hearing from our director on this, while very receptive to any and all offers, he's very guarded because there's so many caveats that staff have to work through. And I think that the season or the event that we still find ourselves in has a lot of variables that need to be addressed in conjunction with programming that we already have in place. So having said all that, I will be voting against this, not because I'm against daycares or anything those lines, but because I absolutely trust staff to make the best decisions with respect to the facility and its uses in conjunction with what they already have worked, and so they're very familiar with that, and knowing that they will consider any and all opportunities. And I think that any further discussion from us will kind of be in that kind of clunky overreach kind of thing. I think it's going to do more harm than good. So those are my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam CAO, and then I have Councillor Riley, and I think Councillor Bradrick as well. Yep, go ahead, Madam CAO.
Thank you. And again, as I'm thinking about this, what I can't really define is the problem statement. And that is, I haven't been able to sort of nail down what the problem statement is, and the way that the motion is written right now, we'd have to contemplate sort of an infinite number of uses that we would have to decide would be how we would deal with them. And I don't know whether we have, if that's what you want us to spend our time on. So again, just asking for more clarity, please.
So I think Madam CEO is asking you to be more specific on just what item you're looking for, Councillor Riley.
I guess if that's what's needed, then we can make this as clear as day and speak specifically to maybe youth-related services. Again, I don't necessarily want to just use the word, daycare, childcare, but at the same time, while I have the mic here, I guess, I did want to say through you, Mr. Chair, to even our CEO, like part of the messaging that I didn't say in the beginning, but I probably should have, is that this resident, as well as several other residents, have made efforts to reach out, and they've said that their phone calls go unanswered and their emails go unanswered, and they've tried to have this out there, and they're feeling ignored. And whatever it's a technical issue, staff's just too busy, whatever the situation is, this is where we are today because of that stuff. And so when we hear, the mayor mentioned that, you trust staff and this and that, like we all trust staff. But at the same time, we have residents that are telling us that they're having difficulty getting this information and they're trying to reach you guys and they're not able to get it. This is why it's coming through me today, is because the very thing that they made the effort to reach out to you guys and they've been unsuccessful. However that is, I don't know. And so I think it's critical that we put this forward, even just refer it to staff to have looked into. And as Councillor Ganam mentioned, I know there's a lot of uncertainty of what the future holds, but I don't think we can just not do anything in this particular matter here just out of that uncertainty. I think if anything, this is probably the most appropriate time to have in consideration going forward as we're trying to recognize what the future holds, to also know maybe the staff report comes back and says absolutely not because of whatever the criteria is that comes back that makes it very difficult and troublesome to do so. Again, we're just looking at the possibility. We're not necessarily making a decision tonight. We just want to have that information before us so we can make that informed decision. But to kind of belabor this further, other than the fact that we either support the idea of staff preparing a report to look at whether or not child care services can be accommodated here, I think is really the simplicity of the request at this point. And I certainly don't think it needs to get drawn out, or anybody needs to suggest or indirectly suggest that by bringing this or referring it to staff is not valuing staff's time and not trusting staff to make the best informed decisions. I think we all do that, but we do have questions and we do have times where we ask for more clarification and understanding of these services. And so when I got in, one of the things I wanted to achieve was to generate more revenue to help pay for this community center. And Mr. Mayor, you ran on fiscal responsibility, and one of the first comments and statements you made was about trying to find a way to have this community center pay for itself. And so again, I feel like this is another part of that, and I am surprised that you would have any hesitation and that you would, and all apologies, it feels like you're taking a little bit of a back seat here, and I feel like this is something that you could run front and center with. So.
Okay, I have, thank you, Councillor Riley. I have Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Chair. Child care is definitely something that's very important to me, and I spoke to this council in previous council meetings about the need for West Lincoln's child care services to be increased. I think it's twofold. I think it's honorable that Councillor Riley has come forward to this council to bring forward a need from as expressed from the community, and it's important that that's put to this table. However, I at the same time also don't want to see the use of our community center to be impeded by a locked-in agreement. Childcare is multi-level, different types of childcare exists, so I guess knowing the specific need of an operator that would come to staff and try to arrange a rental agreement would give us a better fulsome understanding of what that looks like. Is it before and after childcare? Is it a 2-hour co-op nursery school? Is it a full day program? There's multiple types of childcare. And again, I guess that would go back to staff to see if that would impede on any continuous openings of our operations at the community center that would be then available to the remainder of the community. If it was full-day childcare for children young, I'm not sure if that facility would be applicable or appropriate. But again, that would be up to staff, I think, to do their due diligence to determine if that's appropriate or not.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Broderick. I have a few comments, I guess, I can add to this. These are the meetings that we have amongst us to bring things forward. We as all councillors, we do represent the people out there, and that's our job, to bring stuff forward. We do get calls, and as much as, it couldn't not possibly be a possibility, but the public wants to know that there could be a possibility of bringing this forward to help provide, better services out there. I get where staff is coming from. There could be a big liability issue with this. There's insurances. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration. We're still in the midst of a bit of a pandemic still. There's still capacity limits. There's still a lot of things. But I give credit to the members of council coming forward and bringing something forward, because that's your job. Your job is to listen to your constituents and bring stuff forward. So, if it comes under a new item of business, the timing is the timing, and that's just the way that we're elected and what we're here to do. Either if we were to support it or not to support it because we think it's not warranted, that is your job. So, I think it's good that we bring it to staff and doing your job, listening to the constituents, and, staff is agreeing to bring it back to us, and we'll hear back from staff if it's a yay or a nay. And we're gonna usually go by their recommendations if it's a yay or a nay once they talk to the right outlets. So hopefully we can see that back in February, and it will be helpful, and we can get the answers that the public needs. Madam CAO.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just try to break this down a little bit farther. So I've now heard that the concern is that maybe staff haven't got back to this group, and so that could be the direction that council asks for, or versus coming up with an analysis of the other types of facilities or other programs that we might consider using. I think we look at every rental opportunity as they come up to staff. So what I'm sort of understanding is that the problem is that they haven't connected, and we don't know what their issue is. And I just don't. I understand that committee and members of council bring forward ideas. I think it's a very good thing, but I don't want them to do something that goes beyond what we really need to do.
Thank you, Madam CEO. But then I agree with that statement, but that's when we bring it forward, and when you report back to us, we'll get the answer that staff looked into this, and hopefully the groups will reach out by that time to members of staff and the Director of Public Works to see what their requests are, and then at that time, in 3 months, we'll have an answer if it's a yay or a nay on this issue. Councillor Riley?
Yeah, just one last thing. Again, I think, we're drawing this out. I really think it's just a matter of referring it back and getting that professional advice. You guys review it and then bring that report back later. I don't think we need to go on. But the reason I want to ask for a recorded vote because this is really important to me.
It's fine. Yep. Is your hand still up there, Madam CAO? I see the emoji there.
Okay, the last thing I'm going to say, thank you, is perhaps we have a conversation with this group and we can accommodate them. I don't think they want to wait till February for an answer. So do you still want to divide it into two different parts then? How do you want us to proceed?
So I think I mentioned this at the beginning, this is certainly not something that needs to be addressed like ASAP. I think there's going to be a lot of planning that's going to be a part of this. Should this be successful, I think February is an appropriate time for staff, and I think they'll have some understanding in it as well. I think everyone's trying to plan for the future, and I think they're, in this particular situation, should this particular organization be meet whatever that criteria or guide is, then I think there'll be no problem in them waiting then, and us having to figure out how you do that, based on everyone, is it first come, first serve, or is there a different criteria in how they apply for the space? But I'm not too concerned about, this having to come back ASAP, and I don't think we need to stall this. I really think we can get the 3 months is like the appropriate range there, give staff a chance not to prioritize it right today, but it needs to be addressed in the next few months so that we can have some kind of idea. And again, if it comes back in 3 months and it's just not an appropriate space, as Chair Trombetta has mentioned, then most times we will follow the advice and the expertise of staff, but we just really think this, or I really think this should be considered or at least reviewed. So that's.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Ganan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, I'm not sure that what Councillor Riley is now saying, which is where we started in the first place, is what the motion says. So as the motion stands, we're asking for staff to do a whole bunch of work looking at all kinds of rental opportunities. So if we want to go back to what you originally said, Councillor, and bring it back to this particular item that you wanted to bring forward, and fairly so. I was unaware that somebody had expressed their concern that they weren't able to reach staff. So if by doing this tonight, that solves that problem, they still need time to deal with it and to do it. But that's very different from asking staff to come back with a big report about rental opportunities and exploring all of that, which is how the discussion changed midway. So I would just like clarification about what we're really asking staff to do. If it's just deal with the situation, then I have no problem with that. I do have a problem if we're asking them to do all kinds of exploring rental opportunities when we don't know where we're going to be with our existing opportunities.
So let me just go refer to the clerk. Madam Clerk, is it specific on what is referred back to staff, or is it more of a broad statement there that is in the motion?
For you, Mr. Chair, I can read the motion again and make sure that I have it correctly, because there's been a lot of dialogue.
Correct.
Since the resolution was put forward. So I have that staff be directed to prepare a report and recommendation to be presented no later than at the February Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting regarding use of the meeting rooms at the West Lincoln Community Center for other suitable rental uses or programs.
And just to concur what Councillor Ganan is saying, I think staff is looking at you, Councillor Riley, to be quite specific on one, because as Councillor Ganan said, it does open it up. So if you can we can sum this up.
Absolutely.
To refer back, sum it up.
And I guess we never actually did the formal change, because I think our CEO had mentioned originally, that's when I had mentioned the term youth service. Remember, I was trying to struggle through like what we could name. I didn't really want to necessarily call it child care, and then it's just restricted to child care, but anything dealing with youth. And somehow we were still stuck with the original, and that never got switched over because we never brought that back. So
youth and child services can be put in there?
Sure. I think that probably sums it up best.
Madam Clerk?
Youth and child care services, if that makes
Youth and child care services, to be specific, if that's okay, Madam Clerk, or Madam CAO to the clerk.
Yes, again, through you. So I'll read it one more time just to make sure I have it correct. So that staff be directed to prepare a report and recommendation to be presented no later than at the February Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting regarding use of the meeting rooms at the West Lincoln Community Center for youth and child care services.
Okay, is that okay with you, Councillor Ganan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that's clear, and it's not asking staff to do more than look at this one topic, right? They can look specifically at that. I think that's certainly more fair.
Thank you.
Okay. Reading the motion that's been presented in front of us, we had to move her, seconded by Councillor Bradrick. Any further comments or questions on this motion? And the recorded vote has been asked by Councillor Riley, if I'm correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
So
yes, that's correct, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councillor Riley?
Support.
Councillor Bradrick?
Support.
Councillor Ganan?
Support.
Mayor Bosma?
Opposed.
And I see Councillor Rayner.
He lost connectivity probably a while back.
Okay. And Chair Trombetta.
Support.
So we have a 4-1 vote. It's carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, members of staff, for their input on that. There are no confidential matters, and I'd like to thank everybody, and we will adjourn this meeting now at the hour of 8:05. Thank you, everybody. Take care.